Tonight, we remember one of the patriots who served aboard the Iowa. He's with us here, the good-looking dude over here in the uniform over here. Looks like an admiral over here. Stand up. Give this guy a hand. David, we'd like to have you please come forward to receive our presentation in appreciation of your service and in grateful recognition of all who served aboard the Iowa.
I just wanted to say thank you. What a great privilege it is to be with you guys tonight. Thank you to Chabad Palos Verdes for this honor, which I accept on behalf of all of the veterans of Battleship Iowa. I was told that I only had about 2 minutes, but I wanted to share 2 quick stories with you. If you give me the mic long enough, I will tell sea stories all night.
You have it.
So, but the first story was coming to Iowa the first time. I wanted a battleship because I love the history and I wanted the connection to World War II and the past. And I was born and raised in California. I went to boot camp down in San Diego. There were 2 battleships in Long Beach. I knew that I was going to Long Beach. I've got everybody in my family in the Navy. My brother is stationed in Long Beach. I just knew I was going to Long Beach. So the Navy has a thing called a dream sheet. And I put down on the dream sheet, they give you 3 choices of ship and 3 choices of station. So I put down Long Beach, San Diego, and Treasure Island. And for the class of battleship, I put battleship, battleship, because that's what I wanted. Now, little did I realize that the dream sheet is something that the Navy uses to ensure that they do not station you anywhere close to where you want to be. So when I got my orders, I looked, and I opened the first page. It said USS Iowa, BB-61, and I thought, wow, a battleship, a piece of history, I'm there. And I turned the page, and it said Norfolk, Virginia. Oh. And I thought, there's been some horrible mistake here. But I was assigned to the Iowa. I was assigned as a very young child. I was 17 years old when I got my orders to the Iowa. And I was on board for a number of times, through those 2 years, through a number of events. And one of those events, which was touched on before, was the explosion on April 19th. And one of the things I wanted to just chat briefly with you about tonight was what it means to come home. A lot of people ask me, gosh, you're working on a battleship today. What does that feel like? And I tell them it feels like coming home. Most of us have left home. You come back to your parents' place. It's not your house. You can't paint it. You can't rearrange the furniture. But you don't feel bad grabbing something out of the refrigerator and making yourself feel at home. That's very much what it feels like to come here. It feels like coming home. And one of the things that I was able to do in my role here in coming back to the Iowa is to invite other veterans to come home to this ship, and I've been able to do that over and over. And the one story that I want to tell you, and it relates to April 19th in the following way. All of us that were on board in the 1980s during that tragic event spent 20 plus years looking at this ship through the lens of that explosion. It was a tragic day. It was a terrible day. And a lot of our memories were colored by that tragedy. And I had the privilege, by working aboard here, bringing somebody back on board who was not on board in April 19th. He was aboard in April of 1944. And I'm the token veteran. People call, they want to come on board. They say, Dave, well, this guy wants to come on board. He wants to see his space. And I go, of course, no problem. I'd be happy to take them. They're not thinking this is a World War II veteran, and he wanted to go to the number 3 engine room. And so when I met him in the parking lot, I thought, oh my gosh, I have killed this man, because he could barely walk. He had a cane, and he could barely make his way up the brow. And he had his 2 sons with him. And he hobbled up the brow, and I thought, man, what am I going to do? He's traveled all the way out here, and I've got to get him into the very bowels of this ship. And as he stepped aboard the ship, he looked around, and he smelled the smells, and he saw the sights, and he stood up a little straighter, and he began to move a little better. And as we moved down the ladders, he stood up straighter, he moved better, he started talking to his sons more, and by the time we got down 7 decks into the engine room, he handed his cane to me and said, here, hold this. And he grabbed his son's hand, and he walked across the space and said, look at this workbench. I put this in 1944. And it was an amazing experience to me, and I was stuck with a couple things, and they're the things I want to leave you with tonight. The first one was, this man's passing the torch. He's a World War II generation. He's one of the last of the greatest generation. We're losing them at an alarming rate. And he's telling his sons his story, and he's probably never coming back. And that was very emotional for me. The second thing was, I have looked at this ship for 20 plus years through the lens of a great tragedy that happened in my life, and it's not even on his radar. He doesn't think about it. It's not part of his story. And I thought to myself, it's not really the story of the Iowa. The story of the Iowa and the story of all members who serve have tragedy touched on them, but that's not the story. It is a story of greatness and a story of service. And that is the story that he was passing on. And in a moment of what I would consider great healing, I thought to myself, Canfield, it's not your story either. You're not defined by a moment in time that tragedy touched your life. You are defined by the greatness that you participate in on the long haul. And I think that's why all of us are here. That's why I am pleased and proud to accept this award. That's why I just want to say thank you so much to Chabad PV. You guys are part of the greatness of this nation. And I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much.